Good morning. I'm Michael Hayes with the Executives Association of Greater Phoenix. We are a business group here in town with close to probably 100 members. Everybody has their own category, and a lot of the things we do are to get leads for each other and help people with their business problems, etc. Today we have two distinct guests. We have an attorney and we have a landscaper. So this is going to be a very lively conversation. We know the people down in Florence at prison love this podcast. So this is one of the reasons why we do it. So I'm going to start right now, ladies first, with Kathy Stillman. And can you give us your firm name and tell us exactly what you do?
All right. Good morning, Mike. I'm Kathy Stillman, and our firm is Stillman Smith Gadow. We are a boutique law firm that practices solely in the area of family law. Family law is premarital agreements, divorce, what people refer to as child custody, some grandparent rights, grandparent visitation type of cases, but solely related to families.
And how long have you been doing this, Kathy?
I've been in this field for close to 15 years.
And what were you doing before?
I was a teacher.
Now, does that help you in any way in this business, or is it just totally not relatable?
I think in the area of family law, it makes a big difference. It really has played a great role in my practice. The area of divorce, for example, is not as intuitive as people think, and there's a lot to be taught about the system, how things are going to go, what their divorce process looks like, and walking them through that is a teaching skill. And as a teacher, I also have a lot of experience with children, working with parents of children, and I can bring that experience to my practice as well.
And that's great, and we're going to get more into that. And next we have Mr. Dig Up Your Trees, Mike DeFabio with Encore Landscape Management.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, you got it right. Mike DeFabio, Encore Landscape Management. I'm in the commercial landscape maintenance business, so we started our company in 2019. I've got two partners, and we've grown pretty significantly over the last 6 or 7 years. We've got over 200 employees now, and we've got the Phoenix market. We have 3 locations, and we have a location in Las Vegas as well. I lived up there for 6 or 7 years and ran a company up there. Our business is taking care of properties just like the one we're sitting at here. So we do landscape maintenance, we do the mowing and blowing and trimming, and then on top of that, we've got separate divisions that do tree work, enhancement work, irrigation, plant health care, weed control, all that stuff on top of the basic landscape maintenance.
Now, this was your second stint in this business. Obviously, you had a little layoff.
Yeah, I've been in a couple of them. So I'm from Ohio originally and moved to Las Vegas when I was 23. So I kind of lucked into the business when I moved to Vegas. I worked for a company there for about 7 years. I was in the right place, right time, and a guy named John Garrigan hired me to open up the branch of ILM, which was a Phoenix-based landscape company. And I got to kind of go from start to finish there. I was the first employee on the ground doing the work out in the field. Not very well at all, by the way, and don't ask me to trim anybody's shrubs or trees. It's not what I'm good at. But I ran that company and kind of got to watch it grow in kind of at every phase of the business. So they sold in 2016. So when that company sold, I went and started my own company, which went really well, but I could have used someone like Kathy, actually, because my partner and I just needed a little bit of counseling, I guess. We weren't meant to work together. And from that, Encore was kind of born. Him and I separated, and my wife is from Phoenix, which you know. So I was living in Vegas, and she didn't want to raise kids in Vegas. So we said, hey, let's get back down to Phoenix. And I reconnected with some of the guys I had worked with at ILM. And I'm actually partners now with John, my old boss that hired me. So when things kind of started going sideways with my company in Vegas, I gave John a call. He said, what are you doing? And he said, get down to Phoenix. Let's start another one. So that's kind of how Encore was born.
And did your other partner, was he involved in that too?
No. So yeah, the three of us, myself, John, and then Juan Hernandez. So Juan worked for ILM probably for close to 10 years down here in Phoenix, running the Scottsdale branch. So Juan was kind of the operations guru, start to finish, could do anything out there. I was more on the new business side and the sales side. So him and I kind of were a perfect marriage, and still are today. I love Juan and got a really strong partnership. And our roles kind of overlap, but for the most part, I've always been involved in new business. Juan's been involved in the operation. John's kind of our in-house consultant, if you will. And we've been blessed, man. We've got, we're probably the fastest growing company in our space the last few years, and we had a huge head start with working for ILM. We had all the clients lined up. We had the employee base ready to go. So we had been through it before with a company that started, as a startup and grew to one of the largest in the Southwest. So we had a lot of experience from that, and I think we learned some good things. We still don't know it all, but what to do and what not to do, and we got off to just a crazy fast start. And now we're at the phase of we've leveled out a little bit, and now we can really, I think it's exciting. We have the opportunity to get really good now and get our processes dialed in and get, just become like the best in the industry. The first few years it was just like grow, 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 and there were areas we probably didn't focus on as much as we needed to, but all we were worried about was getting financially stable and healthy, and we had to grow the business to do that. So,
Well, that's good, and we're going to get more
Yeah.
into that, services, et cetera,
Yeah.
and what to do or what not to do. Kathy, obviously, when you're talking about the stuff that you talk about, it can be a distressing thing.
Right.
I'm sure it is for a lot of people, some more than others, depending on how it works out. How do you balance that with trying to be a lawyer and not getting totally involved with the feelings part?
It's a great question. It's hard. You really want to advocate for your client. And we know when people walk into our office, it's difficult. It's difficult for them to make that call. Nobody gets married thinking that they're going to end up sitting in our office looking for an attorney. And they're also meeting a stranger and basically having to tell us their entire story. All of the skeletons that are in the closet, all of the things that they have going on, the intimate details probably of their relationship, and they're there telling us all of those things. And you want to be able to help people. It's part of our industry, and something we pride ourselves on is really wanting to be that advocate for those people. It can be difficult to separate yourself from that emotionally, but it doesn't do the client any good if we're not honest with them. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on in our office is telling people what they need to hear, not necessarily what they want to hear. You can go to sit in anyone's office and potentially have them tell you exactly what you want to hear. And that doesn't help them in advocating for them and helping prepare them for the road that lies ahead as they go through a divorce, for example. Divorces in Arizona take between 8 and 12 months, sometimes longer. And a large reason for that is not necessarily the complexity of the case, but the emotional component. People are not at the same place. Someone comes into my office, they've already been thinking about a divorce potentially for a while. They've been sitting on it, waiting for children to be a certain age, whatever the reason is that they've potentially delayed in coming to seek legal advice. And so it's important to help them understand that it's going to take a little bit. If they file something, it's going to take a little while before the other person goes through the stages of grieving and really gets to a point where settlement is possible. And in our field, there's a lot of discretion. Unlike criminal law, you do something, X, Y, and Z, right? These are the things that can happen to you as a result, as a consequence of your actions. In family law, there is a greater deal of discretion. And with discretion means depends on your judge, depends on your client, how likable they are, what's going to happen at court. So we really don't want clients to have to get to court. We want them to have a say in their life. If you end up in trial, sometimes it's just a 3-hour trial. Your entire marital relationship, your entire family is resting on the decision of a judge who knows you for less than 2.5 hours by the time they've talked. And that's a big deal. So we're really looking to go to mediation, try and find good resolution that is the most productive for everyone involved, because that's going to be the best path forward to what is a family's new normal. What does that look like? We want parents to be able to sit at their children's graduation, at their weddings, enjoy grandchildren. There's an ongoing relationship there, and breaking those people apart isn't necessarily what's going to be best for everybody moving forward.
What? Because lots of people think like somebody says, "Hey, I'm an attorney, lawyer, whatever you want to say." They kind of think like that's somebody that can do everything. Unlike somebody that builds a house, like the plumber doesn't build your roof, and the roofer doesn't do the plumbing. So you're in a niche business. So how does that work in town? Is there a lot of competitors, or does everybody know each other that's in the system, or how does that work?
Family law is interesting because you do find some general practitioners who maybe practice in a few different areas of law. Maybe they do a little bit of criminal. Everyone thinks they can do family law. It's family divorce, right? How difficult can that be? But the reality is it can be very specific. My two partners, Jennifer Gadow and Steve Smith, the three of us are all certified specialists in the area of family law. There are only approximately 70 in the state practitioners that are certified specialists in that area. And we really stay in our lane, if you will. I'm not looking to do business law. I have business connections. We are looking at those financial intricacies and bringing in additional team members, if you will, CPAs, business valuators, real estate commissioners, people that are necessary to help build the appropriate team depending on the complexity of the case. And it's important to do that. I don't claim to be a CPA or have those financial expertise. I know when we need to get somebody involved. We're looking at pre-tax assets. We're looking at post-tax assets. How are we going to divide those? Those are all things that we're able to analyze and look at based on our expertise, and then look at the appropriate people to bring in to build that team of experts that are necessary to help the clients make good decisions.
What percentage of that's like of those divorces and stuff actually go to like a trial? Is there, that's like a kind of cold hard percentage, or is it?
I wouldn't say there's a cold hard percentage. I would say in our office we settle around 80 to 85%. We have to gather all the information, make sure we have all the pieces to the puzzle, if you will, and then the best agreements are just that. They're agreements that parties make together versus putting it in front of a judge. Right now, there are very few judges that are on the bench that actually practice family law as part of their practice. And so with that, they also rotate very frequently, approximately every 2 to 3 years. So about the time they're getting in the swing of the family law practice, if you will, they're rotating into another division. I think that the emotional toll that it takes on judges is high. So there's a high turnover. You don't find a judge that says they want to stay in the family law rotation for a long period of time because they wonder what happened with that family. I'm making these decisions about who the child lives with. A lot of that rests on their shoulders, and they just see all of that constant emotion and chaos, and they're making those decisions, and I think it wears on them. So because of that turnover, it really is best for everyone if you can settle. You can get to mediation. You can be more creative with the solutions. If you go to court, it's split the baby. You're cutting things down the middle. You know, here's an asset.
Does that necessarily happen more because they're like, hey, I don't want to make this decision, so we'll just.
From a financial standpoint, it's just pretty much what the law prescribes is that it's going to be equitably divided. It might be more beneficial for one party to have one asset and the other party to have another asset, but you can't do that without agreement necessarily. At court, it's going to be divided in half. So you just aren't as creative.
Yeah, just keep it the same, Mary.
Right.
So tell us some of, with family law, what are some of the things, like everybody, you know, you get engaged and then everybody has their bachelorette and bachelor party because it kind of goes like this on the way up. And then you have the wedding, and then, you know, you maybe have a kid or two, and then you start having some issues, and it kind of it's like the one-winged airplane that kind of crashes to the ground. How do you stay out of that, or what's some easy things for people to say, hey, you know, I don't want to be in that spot. I want to have this kind of worked out in case something doesn't happen?
A lot of people don't want to hear this, but a premarital agreement. If you know the rules of the game before you even start the game, it's not romantic. Nobody wants to sit down and have that conversation because nobody is planning to get divorced. If you were planning to get divorced, you probably wouldn't be getting married in the first place. So it's hard to broach that subject for some people because, oh, you don't think it's going to work, whatever you want to say. But the reality is it gives you an idea of what would happen if you do. And so, for example, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that if they think, I'll have my own separate account, my spouse will have their own separate account, we'll keep our money separate, and it's basically separate. But in a community property state like Arizona, that's not how it works. If you earned the money and you put it into an account, it's 50 cents the other party's money, whether it's an account that you have by yourself or an account that you hold jointly. And that's a difficult concept. And when people have gone through a marriage and then they show up at our office and we give them the unfortunate news, guess what? Half of your account belongs to your spouse. You think you've kept it separate and you've done everything you need to protect it, and you haven't. And it's too late. And we have found that usually there's a saver and a spender in every relationship. And of course, the saver is the one who's very disgruntled when they find out that news. Oh, they've been golfing, going to the spa, whatever, and spending all of their money. And
There is no there.
there is no their money, it's our money. So premarital agreements are great. At least, even if you don't have anything, that's one of the things people will say, well, we didn't have anything, so we didn't do anything. If you have a business, if you think you're going to start a business, we do find quite a few people that do premarital agreements because they have family money. So maybe parents who generational wealth is something that will come in the future and they want to make sure and protect it. But the key is just deciding upfront how you're going to handle everything. And we do find now people are getting married a little bit later in life. So they do have maybe a house or something that they've acquired if they've started a business. And those things, you want to protect it or at least know what's going to happen. If you know what could happen in the event of divorce, you can make it cleaner and make it to where it's not as expensive. When you're fighting over those things at the end of the day, they just become expensive.
Can you get a post-marital agreement? Maybe talk to my wife for me.
There is such a thing.
Terrified me.
There is such a thing.
Yeah.
The
Little
thing with
tough.
a post-marital agreement is that it's a completely different set of rules because once you're married, you have a fiduciary duty to your spouse, right? You have an obligation to do right by your spouse, and the legal standard is it's not just what's fair at the time that you decide, we've decided we're just going to separate everything, but it also is it fair when and if you go through the divorce? And you can't predict that. And so there isn't the statutory law for postnuptial agreements that there is for premarital agreements. And so that makes it difficult because it's better to have something than not, but it really,
Yeah,
it's
but
very
the
subjective.
post-marital thing, I can just imagine you coming in and going, hey, it's been great being married to you for 10 years, but I want an agreement right now, right before my business explodes. I can imagine how many people are going, wow, let's just go get that hammered out today. Because it's probably going to be a no, I would imagine. I actually had to sign one because of my in-laws.
A pre one?
Yeah, it was interesting because I didn't have any money anyway.
Yeah, you're like, whatever, I'll
I'm like, hey, that's fine. And then my buddy told me, he goes, just tell them you're poor, and then they'll have to have an attorney draw one up for you, which they ended up doing. It was out of Michigan. So I thought it was interesting. That's when I never read one before, but it's kind of an eye opener. But I'm imagining that in the long run, the price of that is minuscule compared to the having to go into litigation. That's got to be the right reason to do one.
Absolutely. It is. The problem is people are getting ready. They're planning for the big day, right? They're already, they're spending a lot of money on the wedding. Potentially they spent money on rings and gifts and those sorts of things. And so the last thing they want to do is invest money in something that they hope they'll never use. Statistically, close to 50% of people get divorced, but it's never me. Oh, that's 50% isn't going to apply to me, right? That's the psychological mentality when we're getting, well, that's other people. So people don't want to spend that type of money. But if you end up having to have a business valued, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. And if you already have things laid out, it's just cleaner. Then you're not fighting over the sorts of things that cost a lot of money. one thing besides for businesses is a big issue of trying to protect what you've built if you have that business prior to entering into the marriage, is the idea of spousal maintenance. It's on the internet, it's alimony. We don't call it alimony in Arizona,
What do
but
they call it?
spousal maintenance.
And that's exactly what it is usually. Yeah. And I'm the maintenance part. No.
Arizona is interesting because our public policy is it's to help their spouse get back on their feet. So it plays a big role for those spouses where you have had a spouse stay at home. Historically, more women than men, but those roles are changing as time goes by. But it's to give them an opportunity to get on their feet. It's not based on is there a disparity of income between the parties. It's what does one need to reasonably survive, and how long do they need that to try and get on their feet and become self-sufficient?
Well, good. I'm going to circle back to you in a little bit, but I'm going to probably go into the kids part because that's probably the real tough part for people. But let me ask you, Mike, so if, say I own this building and, I got to worry about this stuff, what are the things that a guy that or people that manage properties, what are they trying to get from having you do the service instead of like me hiring my own people?
Yeah. Well, a lot less headaches having someone else handle those kind of things for you. This building, I'm sure, is managed by a commercial property management company, so they'll have a good network of vendors that they work with and landscapers like us. But it's pretty simple what they're looking for, and it's pretty amazing how little it takes to stand out in our industry. But just simple communication really goes a long way. Most of the clients we work with, the reason that they're separating from their previous landscape company is that there's been a breakdown in communication. So they'll reach out and say, hey, I have a irrigation leak on the southwest corner of the building, and the company doesn't get back to them or doesn't respond. So if you show up and you're on time and we take some photos of what we do and send them over to the client when the work's completed, it goes a long way. It's really not rocket science, and it's a lot simpler, I think, than what Kathy's dealing with. But all we're trying to do is communicate really well with our clients and have a good product out there in the field.
So generally, who would be your customer? The building owner or like the property management company?
The contract will be signed with the owner of the building, but our client is the property management company. So that owner will hire the property manager. So I'm trying to meet, everyone in our industry is trying to meet commercial property managers. So the CBREs, Cushman & Wakefield's, Prologis, the large commercial real estate houses, those are our clients. And that's who that's who we've built our business with through a lot of networking over the years, is mainly the way that we've grown the company. It's networking with our clients and those commercial real estate people. But those are the ones who basically make the decision on who's hired and fired and who they're going to bring on.
So is there, without naming names, are there preferred people that you like to work with, and are there people like if they were to call you, like, oh my God, lose their number?
Yeah, you mean like for clients, Fresh?
Yeah, clients or people that you've worked with.
Well, the one-off building owner is sometimes tricky for us. Our sweet spot, our bread and butter, has always been if we're well networked and doing a good job in that commercial property management realm, that's where the business that we want comes from. We'll get a random call. Somebody saw our truck, and it's a guy maybe that's in town from California that owns one building, and he wants to hire us. We'll give that a look, but that usually doesn't end up working out very well. The nice thing about the property management industry is, those people are educated on vendor relationships and kind of how things should operate, and it's just a lot smoother experience for us. So I would say 80% of what we do is in the commercial property management, commercial real estate world with those companies like, the Cushmans and the large brokerage houses. And then we also do some HOA work as well on the residential side. We're not taking care of individual residences, but we'll do, master plan, associations, HOA, common area, that kind of thing. But same thing with that too. It's community management companies that we meet, and the community managers go out and hire the landscapers.
So what's like a couple of the biggest challenges your industry has? I would figure weather's probably one of them.
This week was great, by the way. Storms
Yeah.
are amazing for us. We had trees falling all over cars and carports, and we have 22 guys in our arbor division that are basically 24/7, especially when it's storm time. and it's a tough time for obviously the clients and the people, but obviously it's revenue for us. But we have to be really good, and that's like a make or break, or kind of a time to shine for us. Like if your client calls at 7 p.m. and there's a tree blocking an entryway, like you better get out there in an hour or two, or that's a good way to get you fired. So those are things that we have to really be ready to handle. I mean, there's, as far as challenges, the ones you could probably imagine. I think we have 207 people on the team. So just in general, staffing, labor is always going to be a challenge. Technology, I think, is an opportunity, but it's the industry's changing quickly as far as technology is coming, and I think I like to think we're at the forefront of that. But just as far as adopting new technologies and software and AI and all that kind of thing. But the main challenge I would say is just we're obviously, the people side, the labor side, that's always going to be a challenge. But for us, we're just constantly trying to get better and improve our systems, improve the processes, the way we communicate with our clients, even the way we structure our company. We're always tweaking and changing things, which can be, I think, frustrating at times for our people. But we try to be as transparent as possible with the why of why we're doing those things. But I think you always got to be trying to get better, to keep going. So that's what we're always motivated by.
Now, are you guys in just Maricopa County in Arizona?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, so we've got 3 locations here in Phoenix. So we've got our southwest setup, which is like Durango Curve area, like 19th Ave and Lower Buckeye. We have an East Valley branch out in Chandler, and then we've got a Deer Valley branch. So yeah, basically all Maricopa, and we have a division in Las Vegas as well.
Okay, is that a newer one, the Las Vegas?
Somewhat newer. I mean, we launched the company in 19, and we expanded to Vegas end of 20. So right, and we figured COVID was a good time. Hotel rooms were cheap up there, $19 at the win. I remember going up there, it was crazy. But no, Vegas was a natural expansion for us because I had lived there for 10 years and worked for a company. So I had relationships there. So we were always planning on expanding into Vegas when the time was right. And we just got a couple calls over the summer of 2020. I think people that thought I still lived there, saying, "Hey, I want you to take care of our landscape." And I'm like, "Well, I got some news for you. I'm in Phoenix, and I don't have a business there." And they're like, "Well, get a license and come on up here." So that's kind of how we got going. But we that was always in the plan. We didn't know exactly when. And there might be some other expansion down the road, but for now, it's focusing on these 2 markets and just being as good as we can here in Phoenix and in Las Vegas.
Well, you can always go to California.
Yeah, I don't think that's in the cards.
Okay.
But you never know. But
So give me what do you think is a challenge for somebody that has to manage your service? I mean, what are they trying to get rid of? What problem do they want fixed, or what's the common thing you hear from a client or a potential client that this is the reason?
Yeah. I think there's two things I would go to. The number one thing we hear is communication. Like I was talking about earlier, it's for the most part just lack of, it's simple stuff, answering the phone or just, my account manager hasn't updated me on what's going on the property. On a property like specific, like on the quality side, there's only a few things that get you like in big trouble. People hate weeds, they hate dead plants, and they hate like dead grass, right? So like those are like the 3 things. Like if the plants are green and if you come to this property and there's not weeds everywhere, and the grass is green, I think you'll be in a pretty good spot overall. It's pretty simple. But if there is like a quality issue, usually it's like an outbreak of weeds that was unexpected that gets us in trouble or gets our competitors in trouble.
Do you think, is this fake grass thing coming in more and more, or people are just like, hey, I don't want to be doing this anymore? Is that a good for your business or bad for your business?
I think it's good. Yeah, I think there's an opportunity there for sure. Like with turf conversions, there's a lot of like xeriscaping going on where people are removing their grass and installing more desert-friendly stuff. Especially Las Vegas has a really tough situation with water. So I think actually we're there. By 2026, Las Vegas you're basically having to remove all non-functional grass up there. So unless you're like a golf course or a park in
But
Vegas,
it's going to get expensive.
yeah, for sure. It's pretty much already gone. Like if you go to Vegas and look around, you're not going to see it. Like Phoenix it's unbelievably green compared to Vegas. When I go back and forth,
We haven't learned yet.
well, yeah, it hasn't hit us. We got a bigger allotment of the water from the river and stuff. But Vegas got hit really hard. And I have to say that they did an awesome job. They're kind of the gold standard of water conservation. The SNWA did a great job up there, and it benefited us. Like we got to do a lot of turf conversions, and we had to get really good at that kind of stuff and working with the different municipalities and stuff. And it's happening here in Phoenix, but just not, not as quickly as it did there up in Vegas. But we still do plenty of turf conversions here. We're removing a lot of grass and putting in granite and desert-friendly plants for sure.
Oh, one of the questions submitted by inmate number 4723 wanted to know what your favorite or what your least favorite plant is to be planting. What's the worst thing that you could plant that I'm sure you have one that's
It's
a
probably
huge pain?
the sisu trees that are all over town, just incredibly invasive roots and just have no business being here. So we don't like seeing those.
Is it because it's easy to grow and it grows fast?
Oh, the roots are just crazy. The roots are just so invasive, and they'll dig up the sidewalks and get into the buildings and stuff. So those are a pain in the ass. Somebody asked that, huh?
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, maybe they're working toward getting out.
Yeah.
So, Kathy, let's circle back to that thing I asked you before. What happens? How are children affected by this? I mean, and do you have to sometimes interview them, or is there disputes that require that, and how do you handle that?
That's a loaded question. Children, how they handle it is really based on how their parents handle it. It's really difficult when you have two adults that aren't being adult about the situation. And like I said, that emotion, people get entrenched in the emotion, getting back at the other parent. How can they get back at the other parent? Control a parenting situation, right? Control the children. And it can be very harmful, and it's really sad to see. Studies show it's important for children to have both their parents in their lives, and to the extent that parents can come to the table and support the relationship with the other parent down the road, again, studies show children recognize this. My mom was always talking bad about my dad. My dad was always saying this. They were always trying to make me feel bad. Children recognize that, they internalize it, and it can be extremely difficult. In Maricopa County, children aren't interviewed frequently. I don't do any interviewing of children. Judges here do not interview children. Down in Tucson, the judges down there will actually interview children. They seem to have more time. They also get more time for trial than we get here. Mm-hmm. The problem with interviewing children is that it puts children in a bad place. They are either having to talk good or bad about a parent. They feel put in the middle. And even if they think that they want to have a say in what's happening, the reality is that it's still about what's best for the child. If you have a child that wants to play video games all the time and they get to do that at mom's house, why would they not want to go to mom's house? That doesn't mean that mom is the better parent, if you will. It's a very low standard to be a parent, to be quite honest with you. And parents parent in different ways, and that makes it difficult. Children, people often come to us. It's all over the internet. Well, my child is 12 or 13. They get to say where they want to live. If they told you they didn't want to go to school, would you let them not go to school? Probably not. Why? Because it's not what's best for them, and they're egocentric. They're going to be making decisions based on what they want and like, not based on necessarily what's best for them. Mom has stricter rules. Dad has stricter rules. I don't want to be at their house as often. They don't let me play video games as late, whatever the situation may be. And then when children are interviewed, and let's say the judge doesn't decide to do what the child wants, then the child has been put in a position of the parents both know what the child said to the interviewer, and they don't think it's a fair system. They didn't get what they wanted, so they put themselves out there. They didn't get what they wanted. Children get to make a decision when they're 18, when they're adults. It doesn't mean that they aren't interviewed. They are on occasion. I think it puts children in a difficult position and can be a letdown.
Is there, because you always hear about contentious divorce, what percentage out of 100 are contentious divorces? Like ones that are going to go almost to the 18 months or the 9 months, whatever the time frame you said. Is there a kind of a number that kind of sticks out?
No, honestly, there isn't. Some of it is just getting, again, that emotional component. You could say that there's 15% if we settle 85%, but that doesn't mean that they haven't been contentious on some level. The ones I know for sure will be contentious are the ones where someone comes in and says, this is going to be the easiest divorce you've ever done. Okay, I hope so. I honestly do. But things flare up. Oh, they know that I got this money from an inheritance. Well, it's funny when you start going through a divorce how suddenly they don't recall that. You know, people don't do the things that they've said that they were going to do over the course of a marriage. And when people are angry and hurt and going through that, they often do fight about things that maybe they would never have done in the past. And it ends up with some sparring.
Now, do you, like when somebody comes into you, like probably somebody that's might be a little depressed or might be upset about having to do these things, how do you give them the scared straight of exactly here's what's going to happen and here's what's going to happen if you don't do X? I mean, how do you present that to people without just like making it worse?
I think what we usually tell them is we'd rather that you hear that from us than be sitting in front of a judge and have that be the final decision that's being made about your life. And it is important for them to understand what those consequences are going to be. We are not decision makers. We can only guide people and help them understand what those consequences could be, what different courses of action. I can't make decisions and choices, but we can help guide them in that, and that's the best that we can do is to provide them with good advice. It's based on our experiences, things that we have seen, things that we have worked clients through. We do highly recommend that people seek counseling, have someone, a neutral party that can listen and hear what they're having to say. I'm an expensive counselor, and I don't have a counseling background. I tell them, you can talk to me and vent and do all of those things, but I'm not going to help you be able to problem solve on an emotional basis. I can help provide you the guidance on what needs to happen financially, legally, what our best course of action is, what the risks are for different choices that are being made, and then ultimately the choice is going to be theirs. And hopefully if they have enough information, we can guide them to some choices that we would say you can live with. There are no winners and losers in family court. It's can we reach a place that is as equitable as possible. I usually say the 4-letter F word in family law is fair. I just want what is fair. The problem is fair is relative. And each person has a different idea of what is fair. Usually they don't align.
Well, without naming names, is there particular people in the your business that if you see them on the other side, you're like, ugh, this is going to be like a cat fight? Are they just people that are always litigious or always kind of a bulldog? Do you have that in this industry?
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
there is, and it impacts what we know the cost of the litigation is going to be. If the other party is represented by a certain attorney, we're upfront about that. This case is going to cost you twice as much as it should, but we can't control that. We are very collegial. It's one of the things that brought me to the firm. To the firm was my two other partners are amazing and professional. We're looking to advocate and provide that guidance, that team aspect for the client, a place of comfort when they come in. But we also know that there are going to be those attorneys that are out there that we'd say churning the case. They're going to send out the same type of paperwork every single case. You're going to see it. Why? Because they can bill it out. And they're just billing out getting that money. And we want to be able to talk to somebody on the phone. This is a difficult situation. What can we do as the representation for these parties to help get them to a good place, right? And some people out there are professional, and that you're going to be able to pick up the phone and speak with them and have that candid conversation. My client is struggling with this. Here's what I need from you. Can you do that? But there are also those folks that, you're not going to get on the phone and have that conversation.
So you're kind of like, ugh, like this is going to be a little bit more.
Life is too short.
So, and then you mentioned earlier about the judges that probably get affected by those decisions. How does it affect you personally? I mean, how do you keep, I mean, there's got to be some cases where that wall gets broken down because there's something not right going on and you know it, but maybe you can't fix it all. How do you keep that in your mind or purge it at the end of that?
I have a fairly long commute right now.
So that angers you as you drive in.
So as I drive home, the decompression, I have gotten better with time. The longer I practice, it really does benefit the client if you can stay emotionally disconnected, because you cannot look at things reasonably if you're coming from only one perspective. You have to be able to see the whole field. And if you're too entrenched in your client's position, you aren't doing them a service. And it impacts you emotionally. There are certainly those evenings when I'm sitting there thinking through the facts. What can we do? How can we resolve this? Just trying to constantly look for a means of getting everyone to the table. It really is about trying to get people to past that emotional component. And to the extent that I try not to look at my work too much when I go home, but
It's hard.
it can be difficult.
Most people can't do it. Most people can't do
it can be difficult to disconnect for sure.
Mike, what do you guys look in that forms your fee? I mean, what are the items that each place has that determines how you bid these jobs out? And I don't have any idea how you do it.
That's a good question.
But how does that work?
Yeah, so I just keep talking about this property because we're here. But if we were asked to bid this property, we have an estimator. There's a couple things we do. There's a software system we use, so we get a measurement of all the areas that have landscape in them. So like all the landscape planters, the granite areas, the turf areas, and those square footages and plant counts are entered into a system that kind of has a production rate assigned to it based on the type of property it is. It's gotten pretty complex, which is some of the fun technology stuff that we're trying to develop. So we gather as much information as we can on the property that will tell us, for the most part, like a rough number of hours that it would take to maintain the place. But that's not everything in our industry, right? Like we still want to get our eyes on the property, and we walk the property, and we have an experienced team of operations people that take a look. So it's a combination of the software side and the measurements, and also just like some old school experience of taking a look at the property and knowing what it takes, or the complexities that there might be at different properties, right? For HOAs are a whole nother ball game as far as what the expectation level might be, especially if you got large communities, landscape committees, tons of eyes on you. That might be a little bit more complex. So every situation is a little different. We're trying to get it as much as possible. Like if we can just do it, obviously, if we could do it from the computer and just say, hey, here's the numbers, bam, there's your hours. It's not that easy right now, though. We still have to get the real world look at it. How
do you deal with the gas prices? I mean, that's got to be a big effect on business. I mean, as it goes up and down, how does that affect, your price? When gas is up and you still got contracts, how do you work through that?
That's been a big reason why we've gone to this branch model that we have in Phoenix. There's a couple different ways you can set the company up. But, our old company had a pretty large hub in the center of town, and we kind of just shot out all over town from there. But eventually they realized that there was just so much windshield time and so much fuel being spent that it made more sense to kind of go into the different geographic locations. So that's why we've got our north set up, we got our south set up, and our east. West is probably next, because there's a ton of stuff going up on the 303. I'm sure you guys are aware of, like industrial development just going crazy out there. So it was a huge impact on our company to get that North Phoenix branch built, so that the windshield time's a lot less fuel. We have separate irrigation techs in that branch, and the south branch in the west. So yeah, as much as we can limit windshield time, it's a huge impact, obviously, and fuel is one of the main expenses.
Ooh, no. Are you getting more? Well, that was a good one. Are you getting more requests for like the fake grass and less plants and more stuff that doesn't require the water, either because the person's like a conservationist or they're like, hey, I don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, that's coming. It's not. I guess it's just kind of as an industry, especially here, like how we're operating already. Like when we make budgets every year with our clients, or at least the ones we have real partnerships with. We sit down with them and plan the year ahead, and there's always a discussion about things like that, right? Like any capital projects they would want to do. Do you want to remove some of the grass areas and put in more desert-friendly stuff? That's definitely part of it. But yeah, for the most part, it's your our budget includes your standard regular maintenance, and then any of the necessary services you'd want to do, the tree work, installation of flowers, things like that.
How is, everybody, this is like a question I try to ask. How is AI affecting the business, or is it a plus or is it a negative?
Huge plus, I think. And I think that's probably one of the things I'm most excited about with what we're doing. And I guess kind of one of the advantages we have. I think we can be pretty nimble as a company. There's a lot of consolidation going on in our industry. A lot of large private equity coming in, and because we're still obviously operating the company ourselves, we can kind of do whatever we want. And we've got an awesome. Our CFO is kind of a tech wizard. You've actually met Tyler, and he's got a developer that he works with, and we've implemented AI. I can't even tell you how many ways in the company, and I can't imagine anybody else that's doing more with it. It reviews reviews the photos we send to our clients to make sure it's the right. It's amazing what it can do, the right property. It reviews our GPS routing. It's telling us if there's a better way for us to service a property as far as logistically getting there. If there's an issue with one of our trucks out in the field, or if there's a harsh break that happens, we're getting dinged immediately by AI saying, hey, this vehicle just had a harsh turn, or this vehicle just had a harsh break. We've got dashboards and softwares that we've built. I mean, Tyler and his team, just incredible. Instant reporting now. So I think it's a huge plus for the industry, and the industry is definitely adapting to it. But I really do think that we're at the forefront of it. It's super exciting. Huge plus.
And Kathy, what about is the court lawyer business? How are they dealing with AI?
It's really starting to come up more frequently. I know that there are ways to use it. We haven't probably embraced it to the extent that it would be beneficial yet. You really have to be super diligent and careful in using AI, because it ends up creating false citations. And there have already been some attorneys sanctioned throughout the United States where they've filed things with the court and it's citing a case that does not exist. And so the attorney, you may use it as a starting point, but the problem is if you don't go in and fact check and do all of that, it's going to create problems, and it will be found. I do think that many in the area of family law, many people self-represent. They don't get attorneys. I will say to that, sometimes it's the best money you spend getting an attorney. There are things we cannot, as attorneys, undo if you don't do it right out of the gate. But for those self-represented people that are out there, more and more are starting to use AI to generate the things that they are filing with the court. I have a case with an unrepresented party right now who has sent me correspondence that was straight out of ChatGPT or something. And the problem is it's not 100% accurate. And you can't argue with someone who thinks that they have found the answer through that. So it's definitely finding its way in there into the court system. Probably, I would guess, more so even right now with self-represented litigants. But
do you think that do you think eventually that's going to get better to use or more sharp to use, or is it just there's so much garbage getting put into it every day that it just becomes bogged down? Like the internet. Remember when the internet you could put in, hey, where is Dairy Queen? And then I got 80. You got one answer. Oh, there's one like 2 miles away. Now there's 4 pages. So do you think it'll ever get more precise on doing some of these documents, or is it always going to be a little off base?
I think it gets more precise with the user's familiarity with how to get precise answers from it. That's my understanding and the things that I have looked at. If you know how to guide, the search bot, then I think that you can get things more specific. It really is just about fact checking and taking the time. It can help generate things quick out of the gate, maybe give people a starting point. If you're summarizing things, it can give you a summary. Those are things that can most definitely be time savers and helpful, but it still is going to be about how accurate it is.
Right. Hey, so Mike, we've had a great discussion today. I'm going to give you some time. Give us a closing argument for why would we want to use Encore landscaping?
Yeah, good question. I think, like I was telling you, like a lot of the companies in our industry, especially in Phoenix here, these commercial property managers have their network of people they're going to choose from. So, and they're all good companies. I think for us, it's just we're truly trying to build that partnership with our clients, as much communication as possible. If we could set up a regular meeting out there on the property with them monthly, just to kind of show them what we can offer to them from a technology standpoint, just to make their lives a lot easier. It's something I think that's just different about us. And just the commitment to our people. We've got our talent and culture division now in our company, which has really been cool to see our company grow up over the years. Like I was telling you, the first couple of years, it was Juan and I trying to put out every fire we possibly could. But the investment that we've made in our team and our people the last few years has been awesome. We've got a team of 3 people that focus solely on our employees and developing their career paths for them and their plans. And they also are our recruitment arm. And I just think the future is pretty exciting. We got some awesome new leaders I'm excited about on the team. And I think the future's bright.
Kathy, what's your advice to people out there that maybe they haven't done any documents, or they're getting married, or they're thinking about getting divorced? Why should we use your firm?
A couple of reasons. One is the training, the background, the specialization that we have in this particular area to help provide guidance, our network of other professionals that can help build the team that will help support those people throughout the entire process. As I said, we know it's difficult making that first trip to come in and see us, but getting advice, coming in to find out what things are going to look like. We are there to help not only support people through the process, teach them about the process, but to provide them that support throughout so they know that they don't have to spend every day worrying about it. We are going to help them. We are going to prepare for it. They will not show up unprepared for any of the things that are coming. And we help them know what they need to worry about, what they don't need to worry about. We have a fantastic staff, very supportive. We work in teams, which is a little bit unusual for law firms. Each attorney in our office has a legal assistant and paralegal, and that team knows the case. It isn't just you aren't shuffled between people that don't have any idea who you are. It's personal. And we want people to find someone that they feel comfortable with and that there's a good fit. We have different levels of attorneys with different experience levels, and we want to find the best fit because you are going through one of the most difficult times. It needs to be someone that you feel comfortable speaking with and trust that we have the experience and the expertise that are going to help them get the best result possible.
That's great. This has been a great discussion. I mean, you got 2 distinctly different businesses, but it sometimes is better to have a contrast in styles. I mean, these are good companies to work with, obviously. That's why, our group is so important. I want to thank everybody for listening, all 4 or 5 of you. To our guests today, Mike DeFabio and Kathy Stillman, I want to thank. This has been the Executives Association of Greater Phoenix podcast. Have a good day.